1018 the Holy Roman Empire and Poland conclude the Peace of Bautzen. In 1164 English King Henry Roman II passes the Constitutions of Clarendon, attempting to restrict power of the papal clergy in England. Only Thomas Becket objects, the beginning of their quarrel. In 1349 Black Death Massacre, Jews, except pregnant women and children, are burnt to death on suspicion of poisoning the community during the bubonic plague. In Freiburg im Breisgau, Strasbourg, part of a wave of pogroms across Western Europe. In 1349 Gunther of Schwarzburg chosen German anti-king. In 1467 battle at Beltkostelany, Hungarian King Mts Corvinus beats Bratrusai. In 1487 bell chimes invented. In 1522 Duke of Albany takes captured French back to Scotland. In 1544 Adrian van Goes becomes land advocate of Holland. In 1592 Ippolito Aldobrandini elected Pope Clement Roman VIII. In 1607 massive flooding in England destroys around 200 square miles of coastline and results in approximately 2,000 casualties. Kaik Embassy 1615 Japanese Kaik Embassy, the first to travel to Europe, headed by His Geertsen and Argo meets with Spanish King Philip Roman III in Madrid. Charles I ransomed 1647 after 9 months of negotiations. Scottish Presbyterian cell captured Charles I to English Parliament for around 100,000. In 1648 Spain-Netherlands sign Peace of Munster, ending the 30 Years' War. Cromwell ritually executed 1661 Oliver Cromwell, Lord Protector of the Commonwealth of England, is ritually executed after having been dead for 2 years. In 1667 Truce of Andrusovo signed between Tsardom of Russia Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Pirate attack 1698 English pirate William Kidd takes his greatest prize, the Indian merchant ship Quedagh Merchant, upsetting English trade and causing a global manhunt. In 1713 England-Netherlands signed Second Anti-French Boundary Treaty. Cook reaches 7110 South 1774 Captain James Cook reaches a record 7110 South, 1820 km from the South Pole. In 1790 lifeboat first tested at sea by Mr. Greathead, the inventor. Murray-Bow National Assembly President 1791 Honour Gabriel Riquetti, Comte de Murray-Bow elected President of the French National Assembly. In 1797 U.S. Congress refuses to accept first petition from African American. In 1798 Rep. Matthew Lyon vetoes bets in face of Rep. Roger Griswold CT in U.S. House of Representatives after an argument. Pius VI finally buried 1800 Pope Pius VI's embalmed remains are finally buried 5 months after his death in Valence, France. In 1800 U.S. population, 5,308,483, African American population 1,002,037 18.9. In 1804 Scottish explorer Mungo Park leaves England, seeking source of Niger River. In 1806 Prussia takes possession of Hanover. In 1806 the original Lower Trenton Toll Bridge, which spans the Delaware River between Morrisville, Pennsylvania and Trenton, New Jersey, is opened. A later bridge opened in 1935 is also known as the Trenton Makes the World Takes Bridge. Library of Congress 1815 burned U.S. Library of Congress re-established with Thomas Jefferson S. 6,500 volumes. When I Have Fears 1818 John Keats composes his sonnet, When I Have Fears. In 1820 British explorer Edward Bransfield aboard William sights Trinity Peninsula, Antarctica, claiming it for Britain. In 1826 the Menai Suspension Bridge connecting the Isle of Anglesey to the northwest coast of Wales opens, considered the world's first modern suspension bridge. First attempt to assassinate the president 1835 Richard Lawrence misfires at President Andrew Jackson in Washington, D.C. and first attempted assassination of a U.S. president. In 1841 fire destroys 2/3 of Mayaguez, Puerto Rico. In 1847 Yerba Buena, renamed San Francisco. 1854 first election in Washington Territory. 1682 votes cast. In 1858 Charles Hall founds Hall Orchestra in Manchester, England. In 1858 William Wells Brown published first black drama, Leap to Freedom. In 1862 USS Monitor, the US Navy's first ironclad warship launched. Around the World in 80 Days 1873 Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne is published in France by Pierre Jules Hetzel. In 1877 storm flood ravages Dutch coastal provinces. In 1879 French President Patrice de Mac-Mahon resigns. In 1883 England team presented with ashes of a bale after Sydney Test. In 1888 Harry Moses 297 not out for NSW against Victoria. In 1889 Archduke Crown Prince Rudolf of Austria, heir to the Austro-Hungarian crown, is found dead with his mistress Baroness Mary Wetzera in Merling in an apparent suicide pact. In 1889 Victoria beat NSW after following on NSW all out 63 needed 76. In 1890, Bobby Abel carries his bat for 132 for England in SCG Test. In 1892 Capt. Lugard occupies Uganda's King Mwanga's hideout. In 1894 pneumatic hammer patented by Charles King of Detroit. In 1894 US flag fired on in Rio, prompt satisfaction exacted by Adam Benham. In 1895 CJ Editas first Australian to score twin centuries Vivek. In 1895 SS Elber sinks after collision in North Sea, 332 killed. In 1895 Tasmania beat Victoria for first FC victory in 41 years. In 1902 Britain and Japan sign a treaty after months of negotiating, which commits each country to supporting an independent China and Korea, although it acknowledges Japan's special interest in Korea. In 1903 the Imperial Library first opened to the public in Calcutta, now the National Library of India, the country's largest library one. In 1907 Korean National Debt Redemption Movement started by Seo Sang-dom of Daegu, attempt by the Korean public to repay debt to Japan to avoid further colonization. 1911 First rescue of an air passenger by a ship near Havana, Cuba. In 1911 the Canadian Naval Service becomes the Royal Canadian Navy. In 1913 UK House of Lords rejects Irish Home Rule Bill. In 1915 German submarine attack on Le Havre. In